this computer. Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. Tonight we're going to talk a bit about pathways. So welcome Daybreak Toastmasters. We're so glad to see all of you tonight. There are some questions out there I know that everybody has about pathways, and tonight we're going to walk through from the very beginning of how you log on and you find a path to how you send evaluations to your evaluators and everything in between to try to give you a little bit of a better understanding of how this whole thing works. There's not going to be a PowerPoint. I'm not doing that this evening. Instead, I'm going to be sharing my screen and we're just going to walk through kind of all of this. And then if we get stuck somewhere, if you don't understand where I'm going, it'll be easier just to say, go back to that thing you just did. It'll be a lot easier to go back and we can reference and spend as much time as you want on whatever it is that you're stuck with in pathways. Sound like a plan?
Great. Sounds good.
Fantastic. All right. So two caveats I want to start with tonight. I am not going to go in depth into all of the legacy stuff for pathways. So I'm not going to go into the legacy program, whether it be the CC manuals and the CL manuals. And I'm also not going to go in depth into the paths that went away that some of us still have out there that we can still access. Because that's all legacy and that doesn't necessarily tie into where we are today. Good evening. How are you this evening? Very nice. You can hear us okay?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, I know Woody and I know you, but do you want to introduce yourself to everybody?
Yes, hello everyone. My name is Barbara Allen, and I am from Toastmasters, Aiken Toastmasters, Club
Hey.
1355. I am currently serving as the president of the club. So it's nice to be with you all tonight.
So good to see you tonight. And I know that you know Woody and I, but I don't think that you know our other two here. Milton, do you want to introduce yourself to Barbara?
I'm the electronically challenged one, so it sometimes takes me a moment to get up. My name is Milton Ortiz Jr., DTM, been with Daybreak a while. What, Woody, 14, 15 years? You brought me in, so anyway, glad to have you with us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Milton. Henrietta, do you care to introduce yourself?
Well, good afternoon. Good evening. My name is Henrietta Woodward, DTM, and I have been with Daybreak Toastmasters for a little over 2 decades.
Woo! Wow. Very nice. Jill Garrison, welcome. I don't
I'd like
think
to
I
add
know you.
that Henrietta started when she was 12.
That's fair. That's
Right,
very
right.
fair. And Jill, I don't think I know you in person. Do you care to turn your camera on and introduce yourself to us?
Oh, sure. My name is Jill Garrison. I joined the Trolley Talkers Club
Okay.
maybe like 1 month ago. It's been pretty recent. Yeah.
Well, welcome to
So,
Toastmasters.
Yes.
yeah, I'm excited. Thank
Fantastic.
you.
Well, welcome to Pathways tonight. And Philip, do you want to introduce yourself also to Jill?
My name is Philip Woody, Distinguished Toastmaster, Daybreak Toastmasters Club 1005. I've been a Toastmaster on and off for the last 35 years. And I did want to say, because you didn't announce again, since we've got new people, we are recording this and make sure they know.
Thank you very much. Well, we have 6 folks tonight, and as I talked at the very beginning, let's go back over that very briefly. So tonight, yes, I am recording this. The district asked me to do so we can send this out to other members that may not be able to make a late Toastmasters meeting time. And we're going to talk through pathways from the very beginning for how you log in originally, how you pick a path, how you use pathways, and how you do things like send evaluations to your evaluators online, all of that technical stuff. We're also going to spend some time talking about how to actually use pathways as opposed to letting pathways dictate you and your path. You get to dictate how you actually use the process. A couple things we're not going to talk about tonight. We are not going to talk in depth about anything for the legacy program. If you were here for the legacy program, you understand what all the competent communicators were. That's fine. If you weren't, you don't understand that, and it doesn't matter anyway. So we're not going to get into the weeds with all the stuff that nobody really needs to care about. We're just going to talk about what's out there right now. And again, no PowerPoint tonight. I'm going to be sharing my screen. and walking through how to get to all of the things so you can see what to actually do within Pathways. If you have any questions at any time tonight, please just unmute and interrupt me. Stop me whenever you can. I'll be more than happy to go back to anything else that you want to cover, because this is for you. We want to make sure that you are getting out of this process whatever you need to. Sound fair? Thumbs up, we're all good? All right. Jill, have you picked a path yet within Pathways, since you said you just joined?
I have not yet.
You have not yet. Fantastic. We will start with that process first. Thank you very much. And Diana Barry, welcome to some Pathways training tonight. Just so you know, we are recording this for the district. So if you don't want your image shown, you can keep your camera off. If you do not mind that, please feel free to turn your camera on. All right. Let's share screen here. All right. Does this look familiar to all of you for how to log into Toastmasters International? Has everyone been to this part so far? I see a couple head nods. Jill, have you been here yet or no?
Yes, I have.
You have been here. Okay. So you know at the top it won't say welcome Scott, because if you did, that would be very weird that you logged into my Toastmasters account. But it should say welcome whatever your name is up here. And you have two options. You have a home option and a profile option. Anytime you get stuck trying to navigate through Pathways, just go back to your home and start over again. Makes it very easy to be able to get around, to have that default setting to be able to come back to where you want to. So within your home option, you have, so I click on home, brings me back to the screen. Under educational programs, let's first talk about what our options are within Pathways. So within Pathways, if you go to educational programs and then down here, in this middle section, click on the Pathways icon. This will give you a couple of things. It will give you the overview as to what Pathways is as a whole, but more importantly, paths and projects. This is the listing of all of the options that y'all have for all of your paths and projects. There are 6 current paths and projects that everyone has to choose from: dynamic leadership, engaging humor, motivational strategies, persuasive influence, presentation mastery, and visionary communication. You'll also see down towards the bottom what I was talking about with legacy paths. These are paths that we used to have at different times, that over the years they were phased out by Toastmasters International, either for redundancy or because folks weren't using them for whatever reason. They're not ones you can currently select. So these top 6: dynamic leadership, engaging humor, motivational strategies, persuasive influence, presentation mastery, and visionary communication. These are the 6 paths to choose from. If you click on any of them, so if I just click on dynamic leadership, it is going to take me to, of all things, a description of what dynamic leadership is. It is going to take through what the paths are, with what the projects are within each individual level, and what you're trying to get out of it. So in the very first level, you're going to be mastering fundamentals, going into learning your style, increasing knowledge, skills, and then at the very end, you're going to go to demonstrating expertise. This is where you can always find this for every single one. So if you're looking to try a new path, you're not sure what the basics of it are, this will give you the basics for each of the 6 paths that are out there. If you notice, the mastering fundamentals, regardless of which one of these I choose, icebreaker, writing a speech with a purpose, introduction to vocal variety and body language, and evaluation of feedback, you will find in all 6 paths. So if I go back, and let's say I go on engaging humor, you will notice that the same options are under engaging humor also. These are all the same. So the first level is going to be the same no matter which path you choose. So let's talk about what a path is, what a level is, and what a project is. There are 3 portions to each of our paths that we choose and how we use them. The paths themselves, consider yourself like you're walking through the woods. The path is the overall destination to where you're trying to go. If you walk in the woods and you see that nice worn path that you can follow, That is the overall path. You know, if you take the path, you're going to start here and you're going to end up on the other side of the woods somewhere. And along the way, you're going to get to experience a bunch of different things. The levels that you go through are each one of the steps that you take. So each one of the, if this was a video game and you went to different levels, you went to different worlds that you were getting to check out, you could go and look in a house on this side, and then you could go to the stream on the other side, and then you could go explore the berries in the forest. Those are the levels. They're different experiences that you can have within the path you're taking. And the projects are each of the individual steps you're taking. So along the way, as you're getting towards each one of those levels on the path to get to where you're trying to go, you're going to do projects. Not every path has the same number of projects. Not every level has the same number of projects. For instance, in this very first level, evaluation and feedback, you're going to give a speech. You're going to get evaluated on that speech. You're going to give another speech and utilize the evaluation feedback you got from the first speech. And then you're going to do an evaluation yourself. So 3 different things happen: 2 speeches and 1 evaluation that you do for the evaluation and feedback level on the very first in the Mastering Fundamentals, regardless of which path you choose. That's going to be the same for all of them. So those first 5 speeches are going to be the same for all of it. So why does Pathways ask us to revisit those first 5 projects, or the first five projects within the first level, no matter what path we have? And the reason is context. Pathways was never intended to be used just for Toastmasters. This is supposed to be a vehicle to help you understand and develop the skills you need outside of Toastmasters. This is just a vehicle to develop something to use somewhere else. So let's take the icebreaker, for instance. Your very first icebreaker you give will probably be your introduction to the club. Hi, I'm Joe. I just wandered in off the streets. I really don't know what I'm doing yet, but I'm going to try and introduce myself to Toastmasters and get over this fear of public speaking that I have. That's your very first icebreaker. That's a great icebreaker to do. Different ways to be able to do that, but that's why you do the first icebreaker, kind of introduce yourself to the club. In future paths, introduce yourself to different portions of your life. That means an icebreaker is a great way to practice answering that question in an interview. So tell me about yourself. That context is different from the context of introducing yourself to the club. The same holds true that imagine you were going to meet a different group of people. Say you were joining a new church and you wanted to introduce yourself to people at church. Say you got a new job after you went through the interview process and you want to introduce yourself to your team. All those different contexts within your life, you can use the icebreaker speech to practice that context for all of those different places. If you ever end up in a serious relationship and you need to meet your future in-laws for the first time, this is a great place to practice. How am I going to introduce myself to my future in-laws, or to my boyfriend or girlfriend's parents, or to my spouse's parents for the very first time? So the context changes. That's why you do this on each individual path. Asks you to do the same things because it helps you change the context. The same holds true, writing a speech with purpose. There are different purposes that if we're looking for a purpose towards engaging humor, the purpose of humorous speeches is a little bit different from the purpose of serious speeches. So how do you write a speech with the purpose of whatever it is you're trying to develop? Use these not towards what Toastmasters says that it wants you to do. Use that as a guideline. It's just a guideline. There's no Toastmasters police that's going to come to you and say, you did this wrong. We want you to do this other thing instead. All of this, everything we do in Toastmasters is for you as a member. It's not for anybody else, for your membership experience. So if it doesn't work for you as a member, it doesn't work. That's why it's asking you to repeat these, is because it's helping you find different context to be able to use Pathways and use the skills that you develop at Toastmasters in different contexts throughout the world, throughout your life. Questions you have about why you repeat some of those speeches or thoughts? Does that make sense to why we repeat those? And does it give you a little bit of a better idea of how to use each one of these speeches in a different way? Comfortable with this? Yes? Fantastic. All right. So any questions about where to find the 5 levels and where to find all of the information about each of the projects? We went to Home, we went to Pathways, and then we went to Paths and Projects. So are we good with this part here? You understand what they all are. We can move on? Thumbs up, we're ready to move on. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So like I said, if you ever get stuck anywhere, just hit the home button and go back to where you were. Now, within your project, within your Toastmasters experience, it's going to ask you to do a couple of things. The first is it's going to ask you to choose a path. So what I just did here is I clicked on Learning Hub. From Home, scroll down, Basecamp Learning Hub Achievement Board. In Learning Hub, it gives you the options that you can either just go straight to Basecamp if you've already done all of the prerequisites, or you can choose a path. If you want to read the Navigator, which is kind of the PDF form of what Pathways is all about, you can do that. You're coming to this, it probably covers the same information. If you choose a path, the reason it says $20 US dollars, every future path that you pick is $20. And you know the $20 membership fee when you first start? It's basically paying for your first path when you first start, which is the administrative fee that they have to host all of this. So if you click on choose a path, you can select the language. I'm going to choose English. And then you have 2 options. You can either take an assessment, which will offer you an opportunity to go through some guided questions they have about why you joined Toastmasters and what you're looking to get out of Toastmasters. So I could click on the box here and take an assessment. Or I could just look at all of the path options and I could continue to go to the path options. Within here, I can select whichever one of those paths I want. On my individual screen here, it will only show me 4 of them because I'm already enrolled in the other 2. It's saying I don't need to buy them because I already own them. It won't let me buy them a second time. This will give you all 6 choices if you've not already chosen one. Whichever one you want, again, you can click on this and then you can pick your path. You can continue down at the bottom. It'll say which one I selected and it'll ask you to choose that.
Scott,
This is, yes.
I believe that starting 1 October, the price is going to be $25. So I just wanted to let you know that came out from Toastmasters International today. And new members are $25 starting 1 October. And I believe these are going up to $25 also.
Very
Don't
good.
quote me on that, but I believe that's the gospel according to St. Philip.
Thank you so much, Philip. I appreciate that. That'll make sense for the new member fee to go up to $25 because you're paying for a path. So any questions about how you get here to be able to pick a path in the first place? Jill, since you're new, does this make sense? You can get through how to navigate to either just pick one or to do the assessment?
Yeah, I actually had a question for
Sure.
the assessment part. So, say if I decide to go that route and take the assessment and it gives me a recommendation,
Yep.
do I still have the option, even if for some reason it pairs me with a match, could I still decide to maybe not do that path?
You use the perfect word, recommendation. It is
Okay.
not it's not saying you have to do this. Nothing in Toastmasters says you have to do this. All of this is completely voluntary. It's going to give you an assessment, and it's going to take from your answers, we think that this is the best one for you. If you don't like it, don't do it. Perfectly fine. If you want to look at all of them though, please feel free to read those 6. It'll make your process of choosing it a little bit easier, so you know what all of them are throughout the course of your path as well. If you pick one though, say that you picked motivational strategies, and after you pick it, you're like, this is not what I thought I was getting. I want to choose. I believe it's in the first 30 days. You can just call Toastmasters International and say, hey, I picked a path. I don't like it. I want to change paths. And they'll just swap you over in the first 30 days. Just like anything that you buy, though, there's a return period. There's a window that you have to do the return within. 30 days, I believe, is the return period. It used to, I think it went back down to 30 days from that changed over the past year. 30 days, give them a call. You can get out of your path and into whatever one you want. So you're not locked in either. So once you pick it, if you wait 2 months to then access it and you haven't, and then you don't like it, kind of like other things you buy in life, you're past the return period and you're kind of stuck with it from there. But feel free, pick whichever one you want. If you don't like it, you can always change. So does that all make sense? Are we good to move
Yes.
on from here? All right.
Scott, is
Yes.
my understanding you can only change it once?
They say that you can only change it once. I know Toastmasters that have changed it multiple times, though.
Okay.
If you call them and you're nice to, like a lot of things in life, if you're nice to people, people will do things for you more than if you're mean to them. It's a shocking thing about life. But I do know folks that have changed multiple times. Usually by the second time, they're like, are you sure about this one now? But it's still within that first 30 days. All right, so we're going to look at what it looks like once you have picked paths and you're in there. Back to the main screen. If I click home one more time, and now I want to go to Basecamp. And Basecamp is where you're going to sit for all of the things that you're trying to do within Pathways. It's your home page basically for Pathways. Within here are the paths that I currently have opened. I have Presentation Mastery, Persuasive Influence, Leadership Development, and Strategic Relationships. I have all 4 of these that I've purchased that I am in process of currently. We're just going to pick one. So let's just say that we want to talk tonight about Presentation Mastery for no other reason than it is the first one in the list. I also know it's where I am within here also. On the left-hand side, there's always going to be an overview section. If you look at the overview, it is going to show you where you are within that path, where you've completed levels, what you have done, what you have left to do. So you can see in level 1, the green check mark for level 1, that means that I have done the icebreaker, writing a speech with a purpose, introduction to vocal variety body language, evaluation feedback, and I hit the level 1 completion. Once you do each one of these 4 projects, then you hit project level completion. If these all have green check marks, when you click on this one, it will then send a note to your Vice President of Education to go in and approve that level so the club gets credit for it, and you can unlock the next set of opportunities. Because you have to, they're in level 3, 4, and 5, you have to complete some earlier projects to be able to unlock levels 3, 4, and 5. So once you have green checks by all of them, you can move on. And Milton, we'll go through we'll go through a project also all the way through to show how to complete that as well. We're going to go through this part first, if that's okay.
Now, my question is, what's to keep someone from just checking it off and sending it in?
Nothing. It's the same as it was when we had the manuals. There was nothing to say you couldn't just fill everything out and give it to somebody and get credit for it. There isn't. Toastmasters realizes that this is something that people want to do for themselves. If you decide that the most important part for you is to get the recognition for doing work you haven't done, then it gives you that opportunity. The only person that's being hurt in that is you because you're not doing any of the work. It doesn't hurt Toastmasters at all. You've still paid your $20. If you decide you don't want to do anything within here, but you're just going to check off the boxes, so be it. You can absolutely do that. Are there people out there that do it? 100%. Again, no Toastmasters police. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. I don't recommend that. I think you're shortchanging the opportunity, but you can do that if you want to. So now I'm into the second portion here. I'm into level 2. Now, the one I want to take a look at, let's look at effective body language, because I know that I have a speech coming up for that on Thursday morning at my club in Florida. So we're going to look at what that looks like here, because I want to get to the very end of it. When you look through your understanding, your effective body language, if you click on the actual title for it, you can see that along the way, you have opportunities to go to each one of the sections. So let's start at the beginning here. Effective body language, introduction and assignment. This is going to be the very beginning of where you start. Within here, I recommend as you read through here, as you read through it and then you click next, you're going to do this for each one of these pages. There are screens within each one of these for you to take quizzes sometimes, for you to write notes sometimes. Whatever you're doing, it's going to ask you, it's going to give you homework, it's going to give you lessons to learn throughout the course of this. It's also going to explain to you what the competencies are so you know what you're going to be learning through each one of these. This is all basically a learning module that you would get if you were in a corporate job somewhere. As you move forward and you look through what it's going to ask you to do for each one of these. So for this one, it'll actually go through and it'll explain what is posture, how do you use posture, how do you stand when you are speaking, how do you position yourself, how do you use mirrors, and how do you use feedback to be able to get that, how do you move with purpose throughout the course of a speech. And then it'll take you through each one of these so that it'll give you more in-depth knowledge. Every one of the projects within Pathways has some form of deep dives to help you learn all of this. If you want to just skip over all of it, again, you can do that. I do not recommend that because there is a lot of good information here that they've taken time to document a lot of what we used to teach on an individual basis. Now it's trying to bring it to the masses, which helps. They go through gestures, activities. It'll give you a quiz to be able to do. I'm skipping through this relatively quickly so that we don't have to do each one of these. It'll even go through things like cultural differences. So it tries to help you understand that just because you might be speaking in South Carolina, your audience, if you're speaking somewhere else, may have completely different perceptions than you, and it'll help you understand some of that for while you're speaking. It'll ask you for some freehand writing exercises through here to make this a little bit more palpable for you, and then complete your assignment. All of this is important for you to be able to do. But at the very end, here's one of the important parts. This is what I want to spend a couple minutes on. It's going to ask you to fill this out. It's going to ask you to put in your speech title, when you're giving your speech. If you're in multiple clubs, it'll ask you for the club. Like I'm in 2 different clubs, so it'll ask me which club am I giving a speech for. And by picking one of these, it will then allow me to select an evaluator. That evaluator that I select, I can pick whomever I want to receive my evaluation. So I am going to pick, select evaluator. Where's Marie? Marie, Michelle, Jeremy, John, Carolina, Angela. Marie's not in here. All right, Marie Leffler. That's what I want to pick. So because I picked Marie, I can put in some sort of a description, any request. This is good if you're doing a speech that you're trying to get specific feedback on. So like this one that I'm giving, this is a humorous speech that I'm using for the humor speech contest here in South Carolina, but I'm giving it to my club in Florida so I can get some feedback on. So I could write a description in here. If you just save the log, it's going to save where you are. If you save an email, it's going to send your evaluation to that person. So if I save and email it across the top, see where it says success up here? It just sent that to Marie. I know there have been some folks out there that have had trouble with being able to get this to go to somebody that they want to go to. I've not personally had that issue in the past. But if you pick the club you're in, you pick the person you want to send it to, you can send it to them. Now, when you do that, it's then the evaluator's job to be able to print out your evaluation so that they have the evaluation available to them when you're giving your speech. Let's talk about the evaluation process for a second here. There are 2 parts to the evaluation process for every speech. Pathways gives a form that the evaluator uses that evaluates your speech based upon the criteria of that individual project. And it's really based upon the same things for every single speech. What did you do well? What do you want to work on? And to challenge yourself. It's going to ask those 3 questions to the evaluator. That is not the evaluation that you should present to the speaker when you are in the club. So if you are the evaluator and you have that form in front of you that just says, what did they do well? What do they need to work on? Well, what can they challenge themselves? That's the very basic. When you are doing an evaluation for somebody, the goal is for you to listen to the speech and take notes. And there are a bunch of different formats out there that people like to use for evaluations. As somebody that's won a bunch of evaluation contests in the past, I tend to stick with the sandwich method. So I will take 3 things that the speaker did really well, 3 things I want to see them work on in the future to challenge them, and then at the beginning, I'll have an introduction for kind of overall thought for what I heard, and at the end, a wrap up for something to encourage them to come back and try again. That evaluation that you give in the club, in person to somebody, should be different than just the paper evaluation you get from Pathways. Those are 2 separate things. One is to record for Pathways, one is to really go in more in-depth to help the speaker improve. If you are only going to work off of the Pathways paperwork, the reason why I don't suggest that is you only have 3 things that you can talk about. It limits what you listen to in the speech. It limits what you get out of it in the speech. The other thing it does is it doesn't give you that opportunity. Remember that description that it said that you could send to somebody, you could send to their evaluator. It doesn't give them any opportunity to look at that. Whereas if you are listening for that, if you are using either the sandwich method or the glove method or what I saw, what I heard, stop, start, continue, what I heard, what I saw, what I felt, any of those formats that are out there that people like to use for evaluations, pick the one that you like the best when you're giving evaluations and use that so that the speaker is the one gaining the most valuable feedback. The evaluation process, whether it's in Pathways or whatever other form we're using, is always meant to be geared for the speaker. The evaluation process is never meant to help the evaluator feel better about themselves. It's always meant for the speaker to take the next step forward in whatever they're trying to do. The goal is always to help that speaker take the next step to help them develop, to help them go farther, to use this outside of Toastmasters to develop some skill set. That's why the evaluation process is different between the spoken evaluation and the Pathways evaluation. What questions do you have about that? Because I know it's a little bit different and it can get a little bit muddy sometimes. So what questions do you have about the evaluation process, about how to get through it, or about how to deliver it? None whatsoever? Okay. All right, fair enough. One last thing about the evaluation process, I would be remiss not to say this. There are going to be Toastmasters out there that are going to stick to that paperwork, that are going to say, hey, what I'm comfortable with as an evaluator is only sticking to that evaluation paperwork that I got from Pathways. If that happens and that's the only evaluation that you get, ask questions. You should have a mentor within your club. Ask the folks that are your mentors within your club, hey, when I gave that speech, what did you hear? What should I work on? What can I get better at? Ask for feedback from them. Ask for an evaluation from them. Or when the evaluator at the end of the meeting comes to talk to you, say, I appreciate this. Tell me about my body language. Did I do a good job expressing body language? How was my pace and my tone? Ask them specific questions till you get from the evaluator what you need from the evaluator. It will then also help that evaluator become more comfortable and help them develop their skills to give you a more fulfilling evaluation so that you can help grow throughout the process. It's a communication. It's a 2-way communication. It's a dialogue, not a monologue between the 2 of you. Henrietta, what can I answer for you?
Yes. A lot of times I have a difficulty with the paper evaluation.
Mhm.
And this morning, when I evaluated Ruth's presentation,
Mhm.
I also used that doc system.
Mhm.
And I think I did better with that. I did the delivery, what was her organization was, and her content. And doing both of those, I think I gave a better evaluation.
Yes, I would agree. I think you gave a very powerful evaluation today. Especially once you realize that you were third instead of second. When you came up, you gave a great evaluation. But you're right. There are There are a ton of different formats out there that everybody, there's the docs method. We know Glenn likes the glove method. I like the sandwich method. I also sometimes will use stop, start, continue. Sometimes I will use saw, heard, and felt. Even if you're brand new. So, Jill, if you are asked to give an evaluation to somebody, say in your third meeting that you go to, it's not unheard of for a club that doesn't have a lot of members to have to get thrown in to do something like that. If that happens and you ever feel like, I don't really know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm looking for, you can always give an evaluation on this is what I heard, this is what I felt, this is what I saw. Regardless of how long you've been in Toastmasters, you always can just rely on what I heard, what I felt, what I saw. It's going to give some context for the speaker to help them. And you're always qualified to always tell somebody what I heard, what I felt, what I saw. Um, so there are a ton of different methods out there. Someday we'll do a call just about evaluation process, but we're getting out of the weeds a little bit and into the weeds on evaluations and away from pathways a little bit. So any questions about the evaluation and how to use those two to be complementary towards each other instead of just using the one or the other? We're good? Yes? All right. Fantastic. Let's go back to our screens here. All right. Okay. Down at the bottom, when you are ready to complete your project, now you've given your speech, you've gotten your evaluation, now you've come home and you've had a chance to decompress and you understand what you've done. When you hit complete your project, it is then going to, oops, I want to save. It'll allow me to complete my project. And before I move on, it is going to ask me to make sure that I want to complete my project. When I hit this, that's that green check mark that's going to show up on the previous page to show that all of the levels are now done within level 2. I'm not going to hit this right now because I give this speech on Thursday, and I want to be able to go through and complete some of the other paperwork tomorrow, or some of those other sections tomorrow as I'm working through this speech before I give it on Thursday, because this is a contest speech for me. And I want to make sure that I'm dialing in some of the gestures and some of the body language and some of the vocal variety that I'll need for a humorous speech. This is the one that folks sometimes forget. Complete your project. If you don't do this, it will never get that green check mark, and you'll never then be able to complete your level. So if we go back to the overview, and it slowly loads. There we go. So now, once I hit that green mark, that'll go to a green check mark, and then I can go to level 2 completion. Once I go to level 2 completion, it will ask me, because I'm in multiple clubs, what club are you giving this project to? And I'll pick whichever of the 2 clubs I will be giving the project to. This one's going to go to Daybreak. So it will go to Daybreak, and then it will get sent on to the president and secretary. Any one of the officers can actually approve it now. But it will get sent on to them once I've completed the levels. All of this ties into what we consider the Distinguished Club Program. Pathways is the largest portion of the Distinguished Club Program. Now, why the club wants to get credit for this is it shows the health of the club as a whole. So if I go back to, the very beginning to Toastmasters, I log back in because my session has timed out. Log back in. There we go. All right. Go to my home again. And if I look down here, there's a little section called Distinguished Performance Reports. Not everyone has access to that. I just want to take a brief view of this real quick so you can understand how this ties together to the club as a whole and why this matters. All right, I'm going to go to our club at Daybreak. So within a year, there are certain things that Toastmaster says, if you do these things, you will be doing it well. You are running a healthy and successful club. It says that if you have 4 members that complete a level 1 award, that's those first 5 speeches, and then you have level 2 awards, you're going to have 4 4 members complete level 2 awards. So 4 members level 1, 4 members level 2. Those are the first 8 speeches that we just took a look at. Level 3 awards, you only need 2 people to do a level 3 award, 1 person to do a level 4, a path completion, or get a DTM, and then 1 more. So 2 at the very top level, 2 3s, 4 2s, and 4 1s. This education section, this is 6 of the 10 points that a club earns throughout the course of the year towards distinguished status. The Distinguished Club program talks about club health. This asks, are you using the educational tools and the tools of Toastmasters to help individual members succeed in whatever it is that they're trying to do throughout the course of their programs? This is asking for, how are we using Toastmasters, not for Toastmasters, but are we providing the experience for our members that makes it healthy? We all have, well, members in our clubs. Daybreak, we are extremely guilty of this, that we give a plethora of speeches and never ever record them in Pathways. Then at the end of the year, we're like, well, we've done all of the things. We've provided the experience. We just haven't recorded this. This says to the district and Toastmasters International, here is a club that is doing the right things for its members, the health of the membership, and it's showing us as a club that is focused on the membership experience, not just on the club experience. That's where you'll hear people talk about DCP points, and you'll hear officers talk about the levels. This is where it rolls up into, and why the club gets credit and what that actually means for the clubs when we're trying to get educational credits and why that matters. So what questions do you have about the DCP and why this is important, why Pathways is important for the individual members? We're good? All right. Okay. Now, we've talked about how to get through the project. We've talked about what the project is. We talked about how to get credit for it. We've talked about why the club gets credit for it. There's one other thing that I think is important to talk through here for a couple of minutes before we move on too forward. And that is the individual projects themselves. So if I go, let me see, let me go back. I'm just going to go back to Toastmasters. So if I go back to, oops, home, I go back to Basecamp. That's kind of the home page for all things that are Pathways. Let's say that we pick Presentation Mastery. We're just going to take a look at this real quickly. Now I have multiple paths that I'm currently working on right now. Within that, I'm going to use each one of them a little bit differently. Eventually this will load back. There we go. All right, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. So if I look at my icebreaker, I can use my icebreaker when I first start to introduce myself to the club. The second time I use an icebreaker, I can use it if I'm doing an introduction to a group I'm speaking at. The third time I can do an icebreaker, it might be if I'm going to join a different group. You use it in a lot of different ways. Same with the speech purpose, vocal variety and body language, evaluation and feedback. Each one of these individual projects that we do, Toastmasters will walk you through suggestions on how it thinks you should be able to use it. Those are recommendations or suggestions. They are not cut in stone. You do not need to follow what they're asking you to do. So it's going to take you through the basic levels. It has to have kind of a playing field, a level playing field to say, we're going to give you an idea of how to use this, and then it's up to you to be able to adapt it towards your own individual needs. Let's say that your presentation mastery, what you are trying to present, let's say that you are working towards a keynote somewhere. Or let's say that you are working towards, you're going to give a grant. I'm going to use Henrietta as an example. Let's say that she is working to give a grant project. She's going to give a grant request to somebody at the state, and she wants to use this path to help prepare her to stand in front of South Carolina legislature to ask for money for a specific program that her agency needs. Icebreaker is going to be, who am I and why am I the one to be able to talk about this grant process? A speech with purpose would be, why is this project, why is this project that I'm doing within my own organization, why does this matter for the state, and who is it going to benefit? Vocal variety and body language. If you're sitting and delivering, if you're in a state legislature, you might not have a lot of body language, but you can certainly work with pacing, pauses, emphasis, speed, strength, quiet, and using all of that to get your message across. And then the evaluation and feedback is the opportunity to not just get one person to listen to you give that speech, but to be able to give that presentation to multiple people to get different points of view. And the reason why you want to get different points of view, especially on a speech that you're using outside or a presentation you're using outside of Toastmasters, is we all hear everything in life through our own filters from our own experiences. The way that I hear a speech is going to be very different from the way that Philip hears a speech, which will be different from the way that Milton hears a speech and anybody else that hears a speech. The evaluation and feedback that I'm going to give is going to be different from anybody else. It's going to be different from Woody. It's going to be different from Milton. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it different. You as a speaker, you as a developing communicator, you then get to pick and choose from all that feedback and evaluation that you've received, what works for you and what doesn't work for you. You can throw out all of those suggestions that make no sense and that you'll never use. And you can absorb all that you've been given that makes sense that you think you can do better with in the future. For example, after I gave a speech a couple weeks ago, last week I think it was, after I gave a speech last week, I reached out to my club and said, hey, I'm looking for some additional feedback. Here's something that I'm working on with this. What did you think? Give me some specific feedback for it. I got emails back from a number of members, all of them through their own perspective on what could work and what couldn't work. Some of that feedback I got was just brilliant. Some of it just didn't make any sense for what I'm trying to use this for. I can pick and choose. That's why within each one of these paths, you can talk about the context. You can use this in different contexts. So even though it says to do one thing, use whatever you need pathways to be for you as a person, for you as a communicator, you as a speaker. It's never about Toastmasters. It's always about your individual experience within Toastmasters. That's the most important part. The member experience is why we're here. The relationships we have is why we stay. And the application of it is what we get. And the more that we give, the more that we get. So I hope that cleared up a little bit of pathways for you, how to use it, both from the individual pieces of it, how to be able to work through the technical aspects of it, and how to get credit for your club for it. Having said all of that, what questions do you have? What can I answer for you that we might have glossed over or skipped over? Questions, comments, concerns, or even just good stories, either way. I've talked too much.
How do we get the Distinguished Toastmaster designation through the Pathways program? Once you complete so many, it's automatic, or
you have once you get through two separate paths, so not levels, but when you need to complete two full paths, then there's a capstone project for you to complete at the top of the project. And then once you've done that, then there's also some outside criteria that you need to do. You need to have served the district in some way, either as an area director, division director, on the trio, served as a club mentor, club coach, PR manager, a bunch of different things to help the district in some formal way. And then there are some things to be able to help clubs in other ways also. But once you get through two levels, capstone, and then you can complete for the DTM project, which is a little bit different than what it used to be in the older projects for Legacy, which were a lot of us got our DTMs in the old way, and we're working through the new way if we're trying to get a second DTM.
And did you go over, because you've got so many paths, if I have one path, how do I know where I am? Did you, because I didn't,
Sure.
I know you kind of covered it, but I didn't see that. Where exactly am I in this path? That
Absolutely.
makes sense.
Give me 1 second. Let's go back to here. If you go to overview,
Yeah.
So I picked a path, I went to overview. This will show, this is where I've completed level. This is where I picked up. This is just for presentation mastery. At the top, it'll tell you which path it is, presentation mastery. I've completed level 1. In level 2, I have 2 of the 3 done. I will complete this one on Thursday, and I will submit this for completion. And then I will be moving on to level 3. This is available for any one of the paths that you're working on. If you go into your path, click on overview, it will show exactly where you are for each one of these. Is that what you're looking for, Phil?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure we covered that particular portion.
What else?
Scott, I wanted to ask a question regarding you being timed out. I didn't know for sure if you're in, like, say, for example, you were in, I believe, the evaluation section where you're going through information. Does it time you out if you're in too long?
Toastmasters International times you out.
Yes, that's what
It's
I'm
not
saying.
pathways. TI usually times you out after 30 minutes of being in there. And I was just on one screen, so I wasn't actively doing anything. It thinks I just forgot where I was, and it'll log you out. It'll time you out so that if you can't walk away, leave your stuff open, and let somebody else then get in and use it to fish you or.
So it's a 30-minute time frame that it would time you out
30 minutes that it times you out.
if you're not working in it. But if you're working in it, will it still time you out?
If you're clicking on things, it will not. Every time you click on something, the timer restarts.
Okay.
I think total time it'll time you out. I think at 2 hours, it might say, I need a break. But if you're in Toastmasters International for 2 hours, I do not know what you were doing. Because even when I was a PQD and I was entering people's training, I wasn't in there for 2 hours to do that. So you should be good. What else? Jill is the newest member. What can I answer for you that you might not be comfortable with yet?
Yeah, I still feel like I'm so brand new to all of this. I do have questions, but it's not necessarily in regards to pathways, but just like getting assigned a mentor. And then as well with pathways, like it does seem like this is, for the benefit of the user. So are we like on a specific time frame, like when you start a level, or is it kind of just at your pace?
Your pace, 100% at your pace.
Mm-hmm.
You could take 5 years to complete a path. You could take 6 months to complete a path.
Okay.
It's completely up to you. You might find a path that you're like, oh, this stuff is great. I love this. And you might do that path 5 times. That also is perfectly fine. The goal is that you're getting something from your Toastmasters experience that you're able to apply outside of Toastmasters. And if that means you do the same path multiple times, so be it. If that means that it takes you years to finish one, so be it. It's completely up to you. The mentor I can't help you with. That's a club thing.
Okay.
Your club will help you with the mentor thing. If you have pathways and like some of the bigger questions, we can all help you with that stuff.
What club are you in, love?
Trolley Talkers in Somerville, South Carolina. Yep. So yeah, I've only been to 3 meetings so far and officially joined last week.
Well, welcome to Toastmasters. We're so super glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yay. I'm not far from, I'm in Hanahan, so if you ever need anything, just let me know, and I can certainly swing by the Somerville Club and help you out.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Diana, what can I help you with?
How many pets do you recommend to be working at the same time?
I don't recommend more than 2. I accidentally got that many. I didn't mean to have that many going on at once. It just kind of happened. It was not good planning on my part. I would say no more than 2, only because the individual electives are so different. And if you're applying them to different parts of your life. So if, for instance, let's say you're giving a keynote presentation that maybe you want presentation mastery for. You are going to be doing a TED Talk that you want to be funny, that you want to do engaging humor. And you are becoming a club officer for the first time, and you want to do the inspirational leadership or whatever that is, dynamic leadership. There are different ways to be able to use each of them. If you want to do them multiple times, that's great. But kind of like everything else in life, the more that you spread yourself thin, the less concentrated your results will be. But it's completely up to you. I try not to do more than 2 at a time. Everyone's different though. Some people just don't want to do more than one. Completely a personal choice.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
I heard you say something a little bit earlier. Are you saying you could work on the same speech, just showing different aspects of it
Yeah,
throughout the entire path?
absolutely.
I didn't know
100%.
that.
Yes,
Okay.
100%. Absolutely. Well, again, this is something that's Toastmasters isn't meant for Toastmasters. Toastmasters is meant for you. If you're going to be giving a major presentation somewhere, let's say that you're going to be doing, I don't know, you're going to be doing a training for the C-suite of your company. And you know it's going to be an hour long and you need to do, and you really want to dial in specific parts of it. You don't want to get anybody, you don't want to bore anybody. So you want to make sure that your body language and your humor is really good. You can focus on specific parts for that. If you want to get different pieces of feedback, you can get feedback from people that aren't Toastmasters in that evaluation segment. Use it for however you want. There was a gentleman that I knew that was a Toastmaster in Florida. His name was Johnny Campbell. He passed away during COVID. But when he would join a new district, when he moved to Florida from Chicago, he used our old company communicator book for every part of his keynote that he did. So there were 10 speeches in the company communicator. He broke his keynote into 10 different phases, and he used it for each individual one. We don't have the book anymore. What we have now is a more in-depth project to be able to use for each section. If he was still around, I guarantee he would be doing keynotes based on he would take one keynote and he would do that one keynote for the entire path, all the way through. So he dialed in every individual aspect and component for it. I'm working on a new keynote for a book I just finished writing, and that is published. As I do that, I'll be using that one keynote multiple places within a path to be able to dial in different parts of it. You don't need to write a different speech for everything, and I recommend going back and giving the same speech in different focuses, so you can learn something different from each time you give it, and you can get evaluated on different components of it. So sometimes it's context, sometimes it's humor, sometimes it's delivery, sometimes it's inspiration, whatever it is, you can dial in different parts, and then you can formulate that into whatever it is that makes sense for you outside of Toastmasters. What else? Well, I thank you all for joining tonight. We made it within the hour. Thank you all so much for hanging out tonight. I will save this and I will publish this out for the district. So if you want to send it to your club, if you want to look back on it later, and if you have questions about something, please feel free. If you need me for anything, my number is out there in the district in a lot of different places. My name is Scott Brown. I'm a member of Daybreak Toastmasters here in Charleston. I live in Hanahan. My email address, if you have a paper and pen, is Scott, SCOTT, at Hardy, HARDIE, consulting, CONSULTING.com. Scott at hardyconsulting.com. That is my only email that I really use for Toastmasters and for the majority of life. If you are stuck, if you need something, please don't hesitate to reach out. The folks in my club know that I try to give more than I get, and I would be glad to help you with anything that you can possibly do. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to stop recording now.